guys, it's your girl Shanae,
and Jasmine,
and we're back with another episode of
MVP
TV. And today we are recapping the Cyntoia Brown story, the Netflix documentary, Murder to Mercy, the Cyntoia Brown story. It was just released today on Netflix, and we're just going to let you guys know what was said in the documentary and what we thought about it.
Like you said, it just came out on Netflix today. It was only, I think, like an hour and 37 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But also, a few weeks ago, she had made a post after it was reported that it was going to come out that it was unauthorized. She had nothing to do with it. And so she did make that disclaimer beforehand.
So I don't know how much, Jasmine, you knew about the Cyntoia Brown story. I kind of just heard little bits and pieces from social media. I do feel like this documentary went more in depth and did let me know more what the case was about. Because the only thing that I had heard was that she was a sex trafficked child that killed her abuser. That was my interpretation from what I saw on social media. But after watching the documentary, I have a different view of what actually happened with that case.
I personally feel like I still have some questions, but she said that she was working on her own way of telling her story. So maybe it's a documentary. I'm not sure, but I mean, I still have a few questions myself.
Yeah, I agree with Jasmine. I do feel like the documentary definitely could have been longer, especially because it spanned 15 years of this girl's life, 7 years of her trials. And I don't think that the victim side was told too much, even though I know it was supposed to shine a light on Cyntoia. I think it did, but I think I didn't really understand the case as much as I should have watching this whole documentary, because they only, they did talk about a lot about her history. But the case itself, I feel like wasn't as in the forefront. What do you think, Jasmine?
I feel like it was all just about when they did her appeals. I feel like that's what majority of it was about, is the appeal process and how they claimed fetal alcohol syndrome and stuff like that. I feel like that was the whole basis of the documentary. It wasn't, like you said, they didn't mention him. I think only one other person mentioned his name, and that's when they were getting the recommendations for the clemency, and then the one lady spoke on his behalf from the family. That's really the only time that anyone from his side talked about him at all.
Yeah, and so when the documentary starts out, Cyntoia is 16 years old. If you don't know already, she did murder a man. She never denied murdering this guy. He was a 43-year-old man. His name is Johnny Michael Allen. And her reason being is that she was afraid for her life. She really truly believed that if she didn't kill him, he was going to kill her. And you see, I don't know who shot this documentary, but they jumped right on this case, because it was as soon as she was arrested, they were there with a camera crew. But you can see, I do feel she wasn't given due process, just process, because I don't ever think that it's okay for a child to be questioned without their guardian there. And she waived her rights, but I don't think as a child you should be able to waive your rights. I don't think that made sense at all.
I don't think she understood what they were saying, quite honestly. Even one detective later, he came back and he said that they had a quick little conversation before the cameras start rolling. So who really knows what was said? But he did say that exaggeration was part of the techniques that they're taught to kind of persuade people to talk to them. So you're exaggerating with a 16-year-old,
a 16-year-old who clearly doesn't have the mental capacity of the average 16-year-old. Right. When they were interviewing her, before they even talked about her, the fetal alcohol syndrome or anything like that, you could tell at 16, I feel like I was more intelligent and able to speak for myself and had better understanding of just the way things go than Cyntoia did. And so the documentary, it goes into her childhood, and she has, a long line of her biological family has mental issues. Real psych issues. They're all on psychiatric drugs. Her maternal great grandmother committed suicide. Her maternal grandmother shot herself and attempted suicide. Her mother drank heavily throughout her pregnancy with Cyntoia, and then started doing crack and went to jail. And that's when Cyntoia was adopted by Lynette Brown, but her mother is Georgina Mitchell. That was her biological mother. But anyway, the reason that comes into play is because her mom is very also not where she needs to be mentally. One, I think it's due to the drug abuse. Two, I think it's due to her nature, her nurturing, the way she was raised. But you can tell just genetically something's going on there. So I do feel like like you said, like she's not able to see the consequences of her actions when the documentary begins. Like I understand she knows she killed a man, but I don't think that, I really do believe she thought her life was in danger.
First of all, the reason that she ran into Johnny anyway is because her pimp, Cut, told her that she was slacking and she needed to go out there and make some money. And that's how she encountered Mr. Allen. He picked her up, hey, you know, you want to have a good time. And then that's what led them back to his house where all this transpired.
And I will say that Cyntoia tried to urge him to go back to the hotel, I guess, next to Cut, where she would feel more protected. And he urged her to go to his home, according to Cyntoia. And it's, you know, on the ride home, he's telling her, you know, I've been in the military, I've been a sharpshooter. And then once they get to the home, he's showing her all these guns. So she immediately felt threatened, which I do understand. At 16 years old, if I were in that situation, being with a grown man telling me he's a sharpshooter in the military and has all this power, and he's prominent in the community because he's a real estate agent and has all these connections, and then start showing me guns, I honestly would panic too, and I wouldn't know what to do. I would be afraid to run straight away because I would be like, well, if I run, is he gonna grab me? And she kept saying, I tried to pretend like I was sleeping, hoping he would go to sleep so I could leave the house because I was afraid. And I do believe that.
So I guess this all happened like they were in the bed, and I guess, you know, he was just touching her here and there or whatever, and then he grabbed her one good time between her legs, and she didn't like that. And I guess she like grunted and made a noise at him. And then she said when he looked at her, it was like a fierce look. And then he leaned over to the side of bed and was reaching for what she thought was a gun. So she was scared for her life that he was going to kill her. So she shot him.
Mm-hmm. And so the state's case was that the way that he was shot in the back of the head, his hands were folded together like that there was no way he could have been reaching for a gun. However, if she's already panicked and all he did was go to roll over and adjust himself, I can see him folding his hands together, and in her mind, all she sees is his arms going up, thinking maybe he's going for a gun. So like, I know they weighed heavily in on that, and I feel like that was a big part of what got her convicted and made it seem like an execution. But I do think he could have been turning over, and in turning over, he put his hands together, because I do that all the time. In doing that, she thought he was reaching for the gun. He shot him, and she took some things with her in a panic and left the house. That was August 6, 2004. And she was, arrested on August 8th. So only 2 days later, she was arrested. She said that the arresting officer or the detective told her that they would help to get her a deal. She confessed to everything, and they promised her this and promised her that. And she was being charged with homicide, robbery, possession of a weapon, and impersonation. She kept saying like impersonation. They didn't say what that charge came from though. I don't know what she was impersonating or what that had to do with, like, where that charge came from.
You know, right after they charged her with that, then they go into the dilemma of she's 16, so technically she can go to the adult court, but at that moment she was in juvenile court. So that was another dilemma that they faced. But eventually her case went to adult court, criminal courts.
Mm-hmm. So apparently in all 50 states right now, because it tells you, like, it gives you these little facts in between, you know, different scenes, but in all 50 states, apparently, any minor of any age can be tried as an adult if it's a serious crime. And Tennessee has one of the harshest, I guess, judicial systems when it comes to charging minors, because one of her attorneys, like, said that there's been many times where kids as young as 12 have been, like, charged with major offenses and sent to adult prison as children for the rest of their life. And the difference was in Tennessee, because she's in Nashville, Tennessee, if you get convicted of murder, like felonious murder, you have to serve a life sentence. Like that, that's it. Yeah. There's no option. It's not like, okay, it was murder, but we'll give her a 20-year sentence. It's like, no, you have to serve a life sentence with a minimum of 51 years served before you can even be eligible for parole. So that's what she was looking at. That's why they wanted to keep her in the juvenile court, because then she would have only been there till she was 19. But like Jasmine said, they went ahead and put it to the adult criminal court. While she was 16, she was interviewed by a psychiatrist, Dr. William Barnett. He was a forensic psychiatrist, and they he was saying, like, clearly something's wrong here. We can tell, like, she's not functioning at the age she should be functioning. So he set her up with another forensic psychologist who gave her the Roberts apperception test. I've never heard of it, but what you do is you show kids picture and they explain to you what's going on in this picture. honestly, and I know she was not faking it and she wasn't just saying stuff, like she was very sincere in her responses. The way she was responding to these pictures, something was clearly not processing properly with this girl, because like one picture was a girl sleeping and another girl standing there. She was like, she just murdered her. You could tell she's regretting what she did, but now she's dead and she can't do nothing about it. And all it, like, if I would have saw that picture, I'd have been like, well, she's sleeping and she's not. That would have been my whole story.
Yeah. All the pictures that they showed her when she spoke what she's seen, everything was like violence and like chaotic.
I will say, being in jail, she was able to get 2 degrees. Like, she is one of the more successful stories of incarceration. I do believe that her adopted mother did do her best and was trying. And I just feel like it's one of those things where she was being a rebellious teen and not being able to process correctly. Things went wrong fast.
Also, you know, Cyntoia in the beginning said that she never felt loved, like she never felt like anyone loved her. So I don't know if that has anything to do with like her running away all the time or constantly getting in trouble, because the adoptive mom did say that she got expelled from school and it ended up in like alternative school, and still like in and out of trouble. Like it was always something with her.
Yeah. So she was being denied for parole. She's tried as an adult. She's, you know, in jail, locked under the jail. Her first appeal got denied. So in 2017, on the local news in Tennessee, they were talking about how a law was changed where minors can't be charged as prostitutes any longer or as sex workers. They're going to be charged as victims. I mean, not charged, but they're going to be seen as victims and sex trafficking victims. I guess somebody caught wind of it and, you know, posted it to social media and it went viral. And then they had stars like Rihanna, T.I., Lana Del Rey. They named a bunch of people that were speaking out using the hashtag Free Cyntoia Brown. And that brought it back to the governor's attention, who decided to see the case again for another appeal.
Yeah, 2018, they went for the parole hearing. That was in May of 2018, they went for the parole hearing. But they didn't get a decision until
January 2019.
Well, at the hearing, the parole board, they were divided. I think only 2 people wanted to like let her out, and then I know one lady wanted her to do at least 25 years, and another lady they showed her saying that no changes should be made. She should serve the sentence that she was already given. So they were really divided, but they weren't the final sayers in this. It had to go to the governor for review. But it took him, I think, 8 months or so to actually review it and come to a decision.
Cyntoia's legal team gets a call January 2019 to come to the governor's office. They want to meet with them. They don't tell them what it's about. They say it's a private meeting, you know, to avoid the media attention. They get there and they say, we're going to commute her sentence from the 60-year sentence to 15 years, which would have been up August of that year. And immediately they were petitioning for a transfer to like a halfway house, what they call transition housing, which is a halfway house. So she could learn like life skills and learn how to live on the outside. But she does have 2 degrees that she earned in prison, and she's working towards social reform and trying to be an advocate for like sex trafficking victims and be a voice for anybody who's in that situation, has been in that situation, who has fallen victim to the justice system because of that situation, which I think is a beautiful thing. Like,
also, after the transition house, she's supposed to be on probation for 10 years as well. I mean, I don't want to say like if it was a good or bad documentary because it was unauthorized. So I kind of want to know like what would be in a documentary if it was authorized, if she did have it say, like how would it differ? So I'm not going to say if it was a good or a bad documentary because, you know, I don't know her side of the story because she didn't really tell it.
Yeah. I agree. And you can tell that like any interview she gave was when she was 16, before she was like educated, before she had been through therapy. So I don't think she really wanted to be a part of the documentary anyway, like once she realized what was going on. But I agree with Jasmine. Like, I'm not going to say it's good or bad. It gave me like a little bit more information than what I knew before. But I feel like even for a story with so many layers to it, I don't feel like an hour and a half was enough to even like scratch the surface. It does make me like kind of want to like anticipate whatever Cyntoia is working on, because I'm interested to see what she has to say about it and what else, you know, we didn't see from the Netflix documentary.
Yeah. I mean, if she comes out with a documentary, I'm going to watch it. I think she's written a book already.
Yeah, they said she published her book while still in prison.
Yeah. I mean, which I have not read. I would like to see a movie or a documentary, to be quite honest.
For all of you watching, I lent Jasmine a book 8 years ago that she's still working on. So trust me, she ain't reading no books. She needs an audiobook or a movie.
It was coffee table decor.
Yeah, for 8 years. If she does a documentary in the future, we're definitely going to check it out. We'll see you guys again and let you know what we feel about that. In the meantime, again, you guys, what should you do if you're enjoying our channel, Jazz?
Like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Follow us on all of our social media outlets, which are listed below in the description box. And again, we look forward to hearing your comments because we do want to know more about the story. And until next time, guys, bye.
Bye.